As an athlete, you want people to tell you like, hey, you're doing a good job. Immediately after I was done competing at a college level, I didn't stop. The activities kept me young in a way. As long as we can, we're going to do it. We're going to keep going. Probably biggest fear is my body's going to let me down. I don't care if I lose. Well, I do care if I lose, but don't ever give up being an athlete. I guess that's a big part of your life, right? I don't know who I'd be without that.
In this episode of No Former Athlete, we're diving deep with Kurt Swearingen, a long-retired multi-sport athlete turned respected educator. Kurt shares how his athletic roots continue to shape his life, from the competitive drive that never fades to the surprising ways sports rituals still play a role. We'll explore his transition from field to classroom, why he decided not to coach, and how he stays active as he ages. Whether you're an athlete or just curious about the lasting impact of sports, Kurt's story offers a powerful look at how the athlete mindset endures decades after the game is over. Are we ever a retired athlete?
No. You know that.
I know.
And I think the reason I say that is most of us, not all of us, but most of us started really young in some fashion. My era was maybe not quite as competitive as what you had when you were young.
Fair.
But we were doing things in the backyard. We were competing, if you will.
And maybe sometimes more kids were competing that weren't playing organized.
Correct.
Than for me, where it was like mostly organized.
There wasn't a lot of organized. And that was okay. Actually, as this age person now, 67, I'd like to see less organized. And that may be the old man standing on his porch saying, get off my lawn. But my perspective is you learned a lot about yourself as an athlete, as a competitor, when it was just pickup stuff.
Totally.
Yeah, so I don't think we ever retire. No, I'm still competing in lots of things.
If somebody comes up to you on the street and if they were just like, hey, are you an athlete? What would you say?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No
that's
hesitation.
like your go-to. No hesitation.
Yeah. No hesitation.
Have you ever thought about this before?
Yeah, actually. Okay. I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
Because when I became an educator,
yes,
I was also an athlete in the same area. And too often, in my opinion, I was identified as the athletic person and not the educator. And I was trying to establish myself as an educator. This is my profession.
Yes. You were ready for that next step.
I was. I didn't. Yeah. So I didn't want. I didn't want people that were local that attached the athletic side of me to look at me that way. I wanted to be a quality educator. So I actually had a conversation with my boss at the time and said, I don't want to be identified as that person. I want to be identified as, this is a good fourth grade teacher. This is a good assistant principal. This is a good principal.
Yeah.
Even though I would say, yes, I'm an athlete, I'm also an educator. I'm also a father. I'm also a grandfather. I have lots of identities that are equally as important, but athlete is one of those. So
yeah, no, I like totally see that. And you had to have like a distinct conversation with somebody about like, yes, I am an athlete. This is a part of my identity, but this is not the jersey I'm wearing. This is not the uniform I'm wearing right now, as you were kind of shifting over.
Correct. It was really important, just as it was as an athlete. You wanted to be the best version of yourself, right? As an athlete. Okay, that page was turned, and now I'm on to something different. I want to be the best version of the educator.
Yeah.
It was a pointed conversation that, she probably mentioned, the boss probably mentioned at that time, something about athletics. And I'm like, okay, yes, however, that's in the past. Now we're doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool.
Interesting. Okay, we're going to circle back around to this because I have another thought. But give us a little bit of that history. Give us a little bit of that background. Because from my perspective, my first introduction to you is Kylie's dad. And then it's elementary school principal. And then it's, oh, okay, he played sports. We connect on this level and we're chatting, but give us a little bit of a history because you grew up in Bloomington Normal area too. So that's what you were saying is you were a teacher and an educator here in the same school district right? That you were an athlete and that you went to school also.
Yeah, correct. And would have been different maybe if I was doing my educational profession elsewhere. They wouldn't have made that connection,
Totally.
but because of that. So yeah, I was educated, grade school, high school, college in Bloomington Normal, right?
Yeah, you did.
And was in high school. I participated in football and baseball for all 4 years of high school, basketball for a couple of years, and then went to a local Division III school, Illinois Wesleyan, and was able to do football and baseball for 4 years there. So as a result of that, social media wasn't a thing.
Yes.
But there
Yes.
was media, and through print media and local radio stations, I had a relationship with the reporters.
Totally.
So because we were successful as teams, I was able to be interviewed by these people. So as a result,
because you were successful as an athlete. Yes,
Yeah.
your success made your team successful. But yeah, because you were a stud athlete in the area, you were the hometown kid.
I was a hometown kid.
You were the hometown kid.
And interestingly, when we got married, my wife was originally from Michigan, so she was ready to go to the beauty of Michigan, and I'm like, honey, I got a thing going here in Bloomington Normal, so really we're going to take advantage of that thing.
Stay in this Bloomington Normal celebrity here for a second.
Yeah. It was one of those where there were opportunities,
Totally.
that would not have presented themselves in Wisconsin or California or Michigan, so
It was to your benefit.
it was to my, I thought it was, yeah.
Okay, fair,
And
fair.
I still think to an extent it was and is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wanted to, I don't know, as an athlete, there's love languages, and I think my love language was you want people to tell you like, hey, you're doing a good job. And,
Yes.
And I wanted that to keep happening. That was a very good feeling for people to recognize me until it got to the point where like, okay, that's in the past. Now I'm doing something else. I need you to recognize me for
that
that.
thing.
And they're kind of like, oh, you're a teacher? You're a principal? Oh, yeah. So yeah, kind of an
Interesting.
interesting, yeah.
No, very interesting. Do you feel like at the time you were aware of that like desire need for external validation?
Oh.
Like, or is this something that like in the past, like now after you've reflected on it and you were like, oh, okay, that's my driver.
Yeah, no, I was aware of it at the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And honestly, as I got away from it, I was a little disappointed in that part of me. Like, why did you need that? Egotistical, honestly. I've used that word a lot with a lot of people, that I was pretty egotistical. I was aware of success and wanted people to tell me that. As a parent, I parented like, no, you don't need to do that. Just be good at what you do. And if somebody says something great, if they don't, keep doing what you do, be good at it. Yeah, I was aware of it at the time, and then afterwards.
And then took steps to kind of reframe or change that mindset for yourself, do you think? Or you think it's still in there?
No. I mean, when you say, I'm trying to frame it like we were good as a team, and you're saying, no, you were good at, okay, I'm trying to like, yes, there was great success. There was. However, you're never, well, I shouldn't say never, rarely successful by yourself.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
I mean, that's kind of an overused term, but I'm trying to be, as an older adult, like, okay, I needed it then. I don't need it now.
Yeah.
It's lovely to hear, and I'm very proud of that.
Yeah.
But it's a different part of my, a different stage, I guess.
No, I love this though. So that external validation, probably in all humans to a certain extent, we all like to be told you're good, you did that well. But in my opinion, I think that athlete side of it just like steps it up an extra notch.
Well, athletes are already internally driven a little differently, right?
Absolutely.
Like you said, if you're going to be the best version of yourself as the goalie on your soccer team, then you're doing workouts maybe differently than somebody that's not going to be important to and is a backup goalie.
Fair.
So, yeah, I think that we grow up with cheers, claps, a slap on the back, being singled out in recognition. So there's a naturalness to the external
Totally.
acceptance or the external drive, if you will. The ones that are really elite, they like that. Don't ever tell me that Patrick Mahomes doesn't like the external.
Totally.
But the internal drive is ratcheted up so much higher than those that don't get to the elite level,
Yeah.
that's what sets them apart. I don't think they're any, or I don't think I or you are any less of an athlete than a Patrick Mahomes.
Fair.
However, we don't have that internal drive that he does, or maybe the God-given ability that he does too.
Yeah.
But we're still athletes.
Totally. Yeah. The combination of all the things, but in kind of your growing, aging of the world, talk a little bit about kind of what are those things that you do actively still now?
When you contacted me and you gave me the title of your podcast, I'm like, that's really a cool name because there is no such thing as a former athlete. So I'm thinking like, okay, what is it about you, Kurt? And it was immediately after I was done competing at a college level, I didn't stop. We put together, I mean, literally this summer after we graduated, there was a bunch of us that graduated that played in a baseball league against people in blue jeans. Okay, so, and I'm not,
No.
I'm
Keep
not
going.
putting them down. I don't mean that, but it was like not an ultra competitive environment.
And
but
I'm sure you guys weren't competitive
Oh,
at
yeah. Well, see, that's just it. We were, we had read about these teams and we're like, well, we're going to show you what. Right.
This is what it should be
This
like.
is what baseball's supposed to be like, right? So we did, and I'm bringing pitchers that I played with in college. So it's no contest, right? I mean, it's terrible, but the point being, to get to your question, it didn't stop. It was an immediate transition to the need to stay competitive, not for trophies or championships or batting titles or anything like that. It was just the need to, okay, I've got something going on Saturday or Sunday or whatever it might be. And then it went to softball, competitive softball, where you're traveling around and playing in tournaments and
you were doing that when we were young. I was like, because I remember that side that you were still competing quite a bit with that.
Yeah, a lot. Transition to that, and then slowly it just kind of like, okay, I'm done with that phase of my life, and then it started turning into racquetball. We played basketball, noon ball. I mean, every college campus has a noon ball, so we did that, and Saturday mornings and. Our kids, your very dear friend Kylie, they grew up in a gym on Saturday. Dad took the 3 kids, Mom had the Saturday to herself, and they had the run of the place.
Yep.
So, that we just kind of kept that going, and now it's golf and pickleball, and can I walk up that mountain that my oldest son wants me to climb, and then can I get back down?
The answer is yes, he can.
Yeah.
Yes, he can.
And grandkids that Grandpa come and shoot with me or throw baseballs to me or whatever.
Yeah.
So, it's never gone. There's always your dad plays golf, so you get this. It's golf is beautiful because you can hit 3 great shots, and then you're like, the 4th one, let's play the next hole so I can, maybe I can get that shot this time. Or you hit it in the woods and like, can I get out of the woods and still make a par? There's never not a drive to, right? I mean, that's no firmer answer.
Humble you slightly, but also just put that, that extra level, that extra little competitive streak.
I actually gravitate toward humbling sports now, because, well, I mean, all sports are humbling now at this point, at this age, right? Maybe not your age yet, but,
fair.
It's still hard to pitch to Jack and, kick to Lenny and all that stuff. But I gravitate toward like a game of golf. I'm great for 3 holes, and then I'm terrible for 3 holes, right? So it's like, I can do better because I did better on those 3 holes. So I like that. pickleball's like, well, that looks really easy. Well, come and try it. Well, it's not very easy,
Nope.
right? Especially when somebody's really good.
Uh-huh.
So I'm kind of like stretching myself a
Yeah.
little bit in the areas like, I don't know if I can do this,
Yeah.
right?
No, I am the worst, I think, at doing things I'm not good at. I didn't always have that drive of the, okay, yeah, but like you can get better at that too. I was just kind of always the like, yeah, no, I like it when things feel good and easy. We've been starting our pickleball journey.
Yeah, there
Don't
you go.
worry.
It's yeah.
I'm practicing so I can come play against you next
There
time.
you go. Well, good luck. 'cause
Oh, I
I'll be
know.
really good.
I have seen you play racquetball back when I was in high school.
there you go.
I've seen you. I was going in for my workout at Wesleyan,
Yeah,
and there's Kurt getting his afternoon racquetball in.
It's a beautiful drug. It really is, because I kind of feel like the activities kept me young in a way.
Yeah.
My body doesn't tell me that, but that's the thing that I worry probably most about, is my body's going to let me down, and I'm not going to be able to climb the mountain or play pickleball or throw a baseball or whatever. So as long as we can, we're going to do it. We're going to keep going. I'm going to keep doing those kind of things that I love, and it's typically centered around some kind of activity. Yeah.
So you saying like that's kind of one of your biggest fears.
Oh, big time.
Is it the biggest fear?
Yeah. And I would say partly because my wife and I, we like activity. Okay, both of us
Absolutely.
do. She's not necessarily into the sports part of it, but she wants to stay active, as do I, right?
Totally.
I would say the biggest fear is that I have to stop the activity, whether it be a walk together or a bike ride together, or something I'm doing with my grandkids, or something I'm doing with my friends, an 18-hole golf round
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Because then it's like, well, then what am I gonna do, right? I mean, I can nap with the best of people, right? I can.
I can take a nap.
I can take a nap, but you can only do that for really short periods of time. Well, then what? So yeah, I'm probably biggest fear is that the body's going to go, no. You got to take longer naps.
Yeah.
You got to sit in a chair a little longer.
Yeah.
I don't do well with that.
You are an athlete. You have always been an athlete. You always will be an athlete. But do you feel like there's a piece of that, like, oh, wait, but if I can't physically do the things, do you think that would take a hit a little bit? Or you think that you're feeling steadfast in the identity piece of it?
Oh, that is a really great question. I would say that I would still identify myself as an athlete, just no longer the body's just not allowing me to actively be the athlete.
You're just not able to show people
Yeah.
that you're still doing the things.
We were in Florida this winter, and
Yeah.
I played golf with a guy that was 82 years old,
Beautiful.
walking the golf course with us, and he's out driving me. And I'm like, man, if I can do that, if I can be 82 and do that, so now I've got, okay, that's the goal, right? I want to be 82.
I see.
Yeah, playing with some 67-year-old guy.
Yeah. You want to show up to 67-year-olds.
That's right. You think you're an athlete.
Yeah, you're going to.
Watch
I
this.
can feel it. I can feel
So,
it.
I guess I see people like that, and I think, okay, it's out there. Take care of yourself,
Yep.
right? I don't eat right necessarily, but I'm moving, and I want to keep moving so that at 82, I can be the guy down in Florida out driving the 67, right? So, yeah, I mean, that I guess that's just why it's a fear, is I still see myself as being 82 and walking a golf course and,
absolutely.
Being vibrant.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that
love
worries
that.
me. Yeah.
I love that. I'm going to take it back to what we were talking about earlier a little bit. And as we're talking about these sort of transition phases, right, of into new sports, into sports that the body, likes a little bit more. In those early years, other than having to kind of, start trying to step into your identity as an educator a little bit more, do you remember like when your seasons ended, when your like playing career in terms of like your college seasons, do you remember how you felt, what those first couple months after, no longer being a collegiate athlete felt like?
Ooh, that's another good question. There's a part of me, I guess, first of all, not vividly, but enough that in generalities, I can kind of speak to that. because like I said, right after graduation, we kept playing baseball. It was
Totally.
at a completely different level. There was a part of me that was relieved.
Yeah.
Honestly, because again, very different in your college career, in the training and the off season and the things that were, I hate to say required, but
Yeah.
you
The norm,
needed
the
it.
things
Yeah,
that were established as this is what you do.
this is what you do.
Yeah.
Very different in my day.
Fair.
I again at high school and college, I was football in the fall, a little bit of basketball in high school until things got in the way, and then baseball, right? So football, then you played in the fall, and that was it. There
Fair.
wasn't weight training sessions. There wasn't 7-on-7 passing camps in the summer. The winter became winter sports. You were a
Yeah.
wrestler, or you played basketball, and then spring was spring, right?
Yeah.
You did that.
Yeah.
Baseball bled into the summer. You played summer baseball. It was just kind of one continuous season. So that was my life up until that point. And then college, it was the same way. Still not a lot of off-season training in
Yeah.
football. So when football was over, great, baseball. And then I played in a summer
Yeah.
league. And then I'd come back and start football.
Fair.
So, winter was kind of a cherished time for me. Well,
Got
when it was all done, it was kind of like, okay, my body doesn't have to go through football again. It can recoup a little bit. Baseball's a very long season and at times boring.
Fair.
Okay, baseball can be kind of a boring
Yeah.
game depending on what position you're playing. So it was kind of like, okay, I made this decision from high school to college to continue to compete. I went to a college where I could compete in both sports. That was very specific. I wanted to be able to do that. I played in an ultra competitive summer league. I didn't have to do that anymore. I didn't have to worry about my draft status or,
Yeah.
all of that.
Yeah.
It was like,
Yeah.
now I can just do things for me, just that I enjoy. And that summer baseball thing was something I enjoyed. There was competitiveness to it.
Totally.
We wanted to
Totally.
show those people how baseball was
We
played.
wanted to win.
We wanted to win.
wanted to win.
And that never goes away, by the way, ever. Even in pickleball, I still want to win.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Mhm.
But I'm more okay with losing, right?
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I do remember was this sense of relief, like, okay, now I can get on with the rest of my life. At the time,
Yeah.
my wife and I were very serious.
Yeah.
We got engaged and got married and,
Yeah.
did that. So I was on to the next thing.
Yeah.
I was on to,
Yeah.
I got a job. I'm a teacher. I want to be a good teacher. I still want to compete.
Yeah.
So I still did softball and, yada, yada. But it was like, okay,
You were ready for that professional step.
I was ready. I really was. And it had nothing to do with, oh my God, I'm so glad that part. It was,
Totally.
I loved every minute, and all the people that I got to compete with. I loved it. It was just like, okay, it's time. Because as you know, when you do it, you're little, then you go through high school and you're competitive in a couple of sports, and then you go through college and like, holy mackerel, that's a big part of your life, right? And
Yeah.
I knew that it wasn't going to be a big part of the rest of my life. So I was like, okay, I did that. That was really good and a lot of fun. And my best friends are from those
Totally.
times. But now it's on to the next thing.
You were there mentally, where I do feel like with the intensity that sports are now, with the intensity and the demands for year round everything, it's just like, hey, also, what hobbies do you like to do? What other things feel good for you? Because guess what? You're going to be an athlete, for a shorter period of time that you're going to be not playing competitively. The athlete's always going to be there.
Correct.
But you actively playing that sport, going to practice every day, setting the schedule around that, you're out of your competitive sport more than you are in it.
Yeah, and I do think that transition can be tough for people, and partly because nowadays in particular, like you said, there was a schedule. When you were in basketball season, you had your schedule there, but when you were out of season, there was also a schedule. Whether it was the weight room or it was, shooting hoops with somebody or getting a pickup game or whatever it might be, that didn't exist to the level in my era. It probably worries me more than anything, Aaron, now, because I think we've made it very difficult for kids that love multiple sports, we made it really difficult for them to be able to participate in them
Yeah.
because of the demands of the schedule. And that breaks my heart. I think there's maybe a little advantage to being in a smaller school where
Totally.
it's not quite as serious, maybe. I mean, not that they're not serious, but they are. It's just that the numbers are limited. So I need the kid that was good in football to play basketball for me, and then I need him to pitch on the baseball team or whatever.
Let me just toss this out. Alex at one point was like the anchor of the like 4x1 or something like that. So like, and again, super fast, like faster than me even when we were in college, all of that. But like in terms of small school, yeah, she pulled out like 5 sports her senior year. And I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, how do you do that?
Yeah.
Right? And when you hear that, you're like, really?
I was like, dang it, I should have tried more. I was like, I would not have been able to do that. They just wouldn't have let me.
No, they wouldn't have let you. Exactly.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think that's the time that we're in right now is the demand of kids' time and efforts is over the top.
And like the research is out there now. The research has been out there long enough. Like early specialization is not the way to go.
Oh, really? See, I don't follow any of it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
it's
even-
common sense to me.
Totally. And even, I mean, for years they've been posting like whenever the like Super Bowl teams, like after the Super Bowl, they will list and they'll post what sports like all the players played in high school. And I would say I saw the one that I'm like picturing right now in my head. This was back when I was in college, which was now 10 years ago.
Yeah. Is there gray in that hair?
I know.
No, I'm just sorry.
Put a little
Sorry.
color recently. I can't remember the exact percentage, but it was like, I want to say like 76, 80% of those athletes were multi-sport athletes in high school. So like the longevity piece, that's probably a whole nother, episode topic.
Yeah.
But just as a multi-sport athlete, speaking to another multi-sport athlete, and you were multi-sport through college, it's so critical. It's so important. But even when I was young, like when I was kind of in that like travel sports, elite, kind of these elite teams. Like I started travel soccer in 3rd grade. And at the time that was extremely young, especially around here. And we were playing, 4th and 5th graders because there weren't other, 3rd grade teams.
Travel teams, right?
Again, wonderful experience. Was great for me. It was a good decision and all of that. But even when we were hitting kind of that junior high school, like I remember my parents like sitting down with me and like we were getting a little bit of pushback of like, hey, no, like you need to take this sport and like this team seriously. And I'm like, believe me, my parents are master calendar wizards. Like we will cover all the things. But there was pushback of kind of starting to specialize. And I was like, I enjoy all these way too much. Like, there's no way I'm picking. Like, if you need me to pick one and that's going to be your end all be all, like, I'm going to have to switch. But again, it didn't come down to that or anything. But then I remember, like, a few years later, some of the same coaches, they were like, thanks for pushing back on that, because now we like see the value of the cross training and all of those things. And like you said, now for you, even in the things you still love and that you still enjoy now, it gives you that that variety.
Absolutely.
And kind of leaning into all those pieces.
Along the same lines too, I remember Nick Saban was being interviewed and they were talking to him about recruits. And his comment was, I recruit kids that are multi-sport athletes. I look for those kids. So I do think there's value in it. And unfortunately, even a 10-year graduate, it's hard to believe.
I know.
That means my daughter's 10 years from me, right?
Yes, she is.
But you were good enough, you could have done 2 sports in college. Unfortunately, the time demands of one or the other would have made it difficult. You could have gone to a school that would have allowed it, but would you have had the success that you did in basketball if you had done that?
Yeah.
Probably not. So you went to a school where you were going to be successful in basketball. The team was going to be good and competitive, and that worked, right? I think it's hard for kids now to be able to do 2 in college at the Division III level, just because of off-season demands.
Yeah. I did ask freshman year.
Did you really?
I did. I was gonna do soccer. I was gonna try to do soccer and basketball, but I walked in there. I was like, "So, coach."
Yeah.
She was like,
Yeah.
But part of it too, and to her credit, I was attempting this and thought I would be able to pull this off before actually like even having my first season.
you didn't know what
and so
that-
I was like, oh, okay, yeah, no, this is like a whole thing. Retrospectively, great. Alex attempted the same thing with tennis. Coach is like, will you guys stop it? Will you stop?
yeah.
But it's that desire, it's that hunger of just like, oh.
Well, the other part of it is,
Yeah.
just athletically, not time.
Yes.
Athletically, you could have.
Totally.
And that's why you ask
Why not
before you.
challenge? Why
Well,
not
sure,
challenge?
right? I mean, because that's what athletes
what we do.
typically do,
That's what
right?
we do.
I can make that golf shot.
Yeah.
I know I can, right? So, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
love it. Love it. So, transition into being an educator. And typically, being an educator, a lot of times people will be like, yeah, I can teach and I can coach at the same time. Did you ever have a coaching history?
Never.
You never stepped into the coaching side of it?
Never.
Intentional or just opportunity never came about that felt right?
Very intentional. Very intentional. Now, that doesn't mean I didn't do, Prairie City Soccer League with,
Totally.
yeah.
Totally.
But at an organized high school, junior high, college level, whatever, lots of opportunities, never one shred of interest for a couple of reasons.
Yeah, tell me.
And very matter of factly, I never saw myself as a strategist.
Got it.
Right? I didn't see a football game from a coach's lens. I played it. Same thing with baseball. I wasn't like, okay, it's first and third, and there's, I didn't.
That wasn't
think
your
that.
strength.
That was not my strength. I played it.
Yeah.
So I didn't think I could be very good at it.
Got it.
I could be a good manager of
Yes.
kids.
Yes.
Like, hey, you're supposed to be in this line over here, that kind of thing. But as far as like figuring stuff out, I knew that wasn't my strength. The other part of it was I needed to step back a little bit from it and give myself a breather, because you know what coaches' schedules are like. I didn't need to like dive into long nights and off-season workouts and stuff like that right away. I didn't need to do that.
Yeah.
And then the third part of that is I wanted, when our kids participated, I wanted to be at all of it.
Yeah.
All of it. I didn't want to miss any of it. And that would have been very hard to do if I was involved with someone else's children and coaching them.
Totally.
So I think first and foremost, I didn't think I'd be very good.
Yeah.
I think I had a good temperament for it. I just didn't have
Totally.
the good brain for it.
Fair enough.
So
Fair enough.
yeah, never a thing for me.
Yeah. I know. I was like sitting here thinking about it because too, as I've been, talking to people and it is kind of that, okay, that transition out of whether it's, okay, you're done with college, you're going to graduate, you're not playing your sports beyond that. Some people jump right into the coaching. Some people jump right into that, like, okay, yeah, but still keep me connected to it. And so it is interesting, but I also know just number one, how fantastic of an educator you are.
Thank
You know
you.
what I mean?
I
Truly.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Truly.
Thank you.
And like you said, you were like, your brain was ready for that next step. And your next challenge was to become as well known as an educator as you were as an athlete. I'm putting words in your mouth kind of, but just me knowing you, that's exactly what you did.
Yep. My connection, like you said, everybody wants to have that connection. When I graduated, the local radio station gave me an opportunity to be a color analyst.
I wondered.
Yeah. So for many years, that
Yeah.
was a supplemental income.
Yeah, that's
When
right.
our kids were babies,
Yep.
Polly stayed home with them. So we're like, okay, we got to come up with another
To-
revenue
I get
source,
it.
right?
Hey, I get it.
Yeah. So that was an opportunity. So that kept me connected. We did high school and college football and basketball.
Yeah.
So I was able to, watch quality athletes. I was able to stay in touch with, the
Yeah.
teams. I was able to, keep that thread of connection, but it was real short term. I'd go and call a game. I'd be done.
Yeah.
I go home. I didn't have to figure out like, why did they do that on third? What do you want me to?
You didn't have to watch film
I
for
didn't
the
have
next
to-
game
no,
coming up.
No, yeah, I didn't have to make any decisions on are we going
Yeah.
to punt or are we going to, bunt or whatever.
Yeah.
So that was my connection.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
And it was the same thing with the radio station. I said, when the children get old enough, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah.
And I was. I said, that's it. I've got a freshman football player. I'm going to watch all the games, and it never stopped through all three kids.
Yeah.
Even I would help out with the kids, and when they were
Totally.
growing up, just because they didn't have anybody else.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I'll be the coach. It was like, okay, yeah.
Oh, I remember
want,
seeing you in a PCSL, a little PCSL parent
yeah,
coach shirt.
yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't necessarily enjoy it.
No, but you were also an athlete parent. You know what I mean? You were the athlete parent. My parents were the same way, where it's just kind of that like, yeah, they want to be able to go to everyone else's, which is why, into our older sports and all of that, they never, took on those types of coaching
Right,
roles. They didn't become club coaches, all of that, right? Because they want to be at everything.
Yeah.
But you still use that knowledge. You still helped, but you've always had your intentions, your boundaries have kind of been ready for you.
Yeah, I guess that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
I kind of was
Yeah.
very much at peace with whatever stage I was in. I was very much at peace when, as a grown adult, noon basketball was no longer going to be in my future. I was okay with that.
Which was how long ago? How long ago,
Well,
really?
not terribly long
I
ago.
was going to
but
say,
But-
I knew
Yeah.
when it was enough.
Yeah.
3 years.
Yeah, right. A little longer than that. But I had to find a replacement.
Yes.
So when noon basketball or Saturday basketball was done, we kind of looked at each other like, well, we got to do something here.
Yeah.
So racquetball.
Yeah.
Nice confined thing. The ball stays in the, I don't have to chase it under the bleachers, right?
Still multi-directional, but
Yeah.
not having to run
Correct.
the distances.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. That's the athlete in us is, okay, I can't do that, but I can do this. So now it's no longer racquetball. It's pickleball. A little slower moving, still a little hand-eye. You got to move around a little bit. Golf. So we we find something to stay active. And I really do think in most of this, it's not the competitiveness against someone else as much as it is, can I do this? Can I make that shot? Can I hit that? Can I get to that ball? That kind of stuff. I don't care if I lose. Well, I do care if I lose, but
I was going to say, you're about to say
Yeah,
it, and
I
you
know,
can't even
I know,
finish the
I know.
sentence because
But
I was like,
you get it, right? You get it.
I so
Now,
get it.
can I sleep at night if I lose it? Absolutely. It's no
Yes,
big
yes,
deal. It's like, okay, we lost.
What did I see? I saw it worded once. We practice and we prepare ourselves to win, knowing that it's possible to lose. So it's like we are prepared at all times to step into any game or competition and win it. But if we lose, it's not going to but a learned skill.
Absolutely.
An absolute learned skill.
Absolutely.
Dealing with adversity, all the good things that stick with you from,
Which is what you want to pass on, right?
Totally.
So as you deal with, whoever, you want to pass that on. Like, that's okay. That's part of it.
Yeah.
It's like, your two brothers are playing baseball. Okay, you go 1 for 3. 333 is a pretty good batting average, right? So that means 2 times you're not successful. So you take that approach like, okay, I know that I'm not going to get hit every time,
Totally.
or I'm not going to strike everybody out or throw everybody out at second base.
Yeah.
But that happens, right?
Yeah.
So
You still
I can't get a birdie on every
still
hole.
go into the next play.
That's right.
Amazing. Okay. I have been randomly asking this question to people.
Uh-oh.
We might not put this in. We might.
Depending
What?
on my answer.
Wait,
is
no,
that-
yeah. No, it has been funny. I'll explain my take on it after. Showering, and especially in showering in the athletic realm, your athlete brain. What is that bring anything to your mind? Do you have any sort of relationship with showering and playing sports, or showering and
like cleanliness, not showering of adoration. You're talking about
yeah.
you're talking about actually
Cleanliness.
taking a shower.
You turn the water on and you rinse off after.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because even now when I work out, I have to shower after my workout. I have to. And there are so many athletes that I'm like, how can you just put your sweats on and go home? I'm like, whoa. Right. So yeah, in high school, the locker room, this is an overused term, but it's like your place, right?
Yeah.
And showering is part of that.
Yeah.
It's like, it's unwinding from
Totally.
the intensity of practice or game. And it's for me, it was just kind of like that was part of the routine. It was kind of like, okay, we're calming down.
Yes.
That part of it's over. Now we're going to focus on this. The other part of it was you were with your people.
Yeah.
You spend time with your people, right?
Yeah.
Not necessarily that you were in the shower spending.
Yes.
I mean, it wasn't that part of it,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you kind of wanted to hang around.
It's the routine. It is the wind down, and
It's a wind up.
It has been interesting, and I'm like, I'm gonna keep asking people because it's something to where it's like, why would anything shower related really have to do with sports, right? Where I first came up for me was like, I started to find, and it still happens to me now, where I'm like, oh, well, you can't shower if you haven't worked out. I feel like I have to earn my shower. Again, I don't think that this is necessarily appropriate. And in terms of like self-care and all that side and like self-worth pieces, like just shower even if you haven't worked out. But athletes have things and thoughts and memories and like how we associate to showers. So I've been asking everybody.
To this day, I mean, probably 2 weeks ago, one of the guys that I play pickleball with, we always talk about this. Not like daily, but
Yes.
periodically it comes up like, how can you just go home and not shower? Like, we play with a guy, he puts his sweats on and he's gone. Like, wait a minute.
Goes and sits in his sweaty shorts.
You're putting, like, are you washing your sweats that you just put on? Because that got all sweaty and, I mean, seriously. So as a 67-year-old, we still have the conversation.
It still comes up. Yes.
It's kind of part of the closure. It's closure.
It is.
I guess that's the way I look at it.
Yeah. Finish of you never thought.
Okay, you're thinking some weird thing there, girl. All
Of
right.
all the things,
That's
you never
right.
thought I'd
Really?
ask you about
No,
shower.
I didn't. No.
I know. You're welcome.
Okay,
You're welcome.
thanks.
No former athlete. Give me kind of final thoughts, the things that you want people to know, advice you would give, kind of what it means to you.
Well, don't ever give up being an athlete. I guess that's primarily what I would say, because I feel like, again, it keeps us, it keeps our blood moving. It keeps our competitiveness going. I mean, we're not the only people that are competitors, right? As
Right.
athletes. I mean,
Yes,
there are
yes, yes,
lots
yes.
of people that, in the business world or whatever are competing. Entrepreneurs compete, right? I think as an athlete, because of that, we need to continue to be athletes. We need to continue to be active and compete, even if it's just with ourselves.
Yeah.
I don't know who I'd be without that. I mean, that was time I spent with my mom and dad, bowling and golf with my mom and dad with, all kind of ball sports. And, that was a connection to them that was very natural. And we spent lots of our youth doing that, right?
Yep.
And then, like I said, as an athlete, when you're on a team, those are your people.
Yeah.
And to this day, they are. We're getting ready to celebrate our 50th anniversary of our high school football team getting second place in the state.
Amazing.
50 years ago, right? And I still talk to a half a dozen of those
For
people
sure.
regularly. So I guess that, to me, that's what a no former athlete is about. Is I want to be relevant in the world. I want to be active. I want to be able to do things with my kids and grandkids and friends and family. And I don't want to be sitting on a stool or on a lazy boy,
Yeah.
even though that's really nice.
They are very nice.
They're
I
very
know,
good
I
and
know.
sometimes good napping places.
I know. Very nice.
But I'm proud to say that I'm an athlete. And, one of your earlier questions, I would always identify myself as an athlete. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Educator as well.
Yeah.
But if you ask me, are you an athlete? I am.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be one or the other.
Nope.
You don't have to shed one just because it just takes a different form.
I think if you shed it, or shed something else and
Yeah.
just say, no, I'm only an athlete, you're doing yourself a disservice. We're much more than that, but that's also who we are.
Yeah. I appreciate you. I love that we still get to connect in these adulting years.
Kind of cool, isn't it?
It's so cool. It's really so cool. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate and review. You taking that 5 minutes makes a huge difference and helps us to be able to make more episodes like this. And if you want to see more content in between the episodes, follow us at NoFormerAthlete on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. I'm so glad you're a part of this No Former Athlete community. And if you know any no former athletes that you think I should get in touch with, DM me on Instagram at no former athlete. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.